Welcome to Bonehead Weekly.
Okay.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
That's not fair. You burped prior to hitting record, and I was trying to get it out, and then you hit record. I have done it a couple of times, admittedly, for just to see if I could make for fun, because I thought it would be funny.
For funsies.
And then this time it wasn't. I apologize to our listeners. I'll try not to ever let that happen again.
I hit record after you burped.
No, I burped and then I burped again after you hit record.
Oh, well, I think we should go back. Who listens to us?
Hold on, I really wish
Ariane or Brian Combs take some time, go back through, do some digging, and figure this out.
I really wish, by the way, I had a prop that would be really gross here. Like, I'd be, that's disgusting. And then, like, I held up a severed leg and took a bite of it or something. That would be a good sight gag for people.
Or you could do one of those, like, 80s Nickelodeon slime time things. Like, that's not sick. This is sick. Yeah.
I don't know.
Slime. Right. Okay. I was 50-50 on this, but I liked the idea. And then I started going down the deep dive of figuring out which ones are my favorite. And I'm actually kind of giddy about tonight's topic. The best Looney Tunes characters and shorts.
I'm waiting for it. Thank you, Chad. You're a brilliant man of coming up with this topic.
I don't think you created Looney Tunes. I don't think you created Looney Tunes, Chad. I think once again, stolen valor.
I don't think your name is Chad Tex Avery Jennings.
Was Tex?
Tex Avery was a director of.
I know he was, but I would have gone Chuck Jones.
Bob.
Well,
Clampett.
one of mine is directed by Tex Avery, and one of mine is directed by Chuck Jones. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone. I'm telling you, if you liked it, Matheson. Shit, I forgot who created it.
Serling. We'll say Serling.
And honestly, this is one of those ones that was hard for, and I think it was hard for all of us, because we're supposed to pick two of our favorites, and there's just so many.
Yeah, and a lot of mine. And what's funny is my favorite shorts that I decided to pick, and I can't pick my favorites. I just went ahead and picked 4 or 5, and hopefully two of those.
Yeah, Looney Tunes is kind of like somebody going to you. Well, what's your favorite movie? All of us have a struggle with it. We usually have to pick between 5 or 6.
Yeah,
and it depends on my mood, right? I mean, and even with Looney Tunes, it depends on my mood. There's certain ones that hit me funnier, depending on what's going on in my life. But yes, there's no easy answer.
And one of the ones I picked is blacklisted, for lack of a better way of putting it. They don't show it anymore. I want to talk about that a little bit as well.
And we saw that with Space Jam, right? I mean, Pepe Le Pew is now, we don't talk about Pepe.
Still, can we talk
Disney
about
doesn't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about Pepe.
Can we just talk about the absurdity of that real quick? Because I don't want to spend a whole lot on Space Jam 2, because it was terrible.
Are you going to talk about your Republican ways and how Pepe Le Pew should be able to rape whoever he wants?
But no, here's the problem. They censored Pepe. We can't have him on here because because of the fact of the Me Too and rightfully so. I get it. But then they put cameos.
I agree with that.
I don't necessarily. I didn't say I agree with it. I said I see.
Rightfully so.
Well, I mean, rightfully so is I see the point. Sorry, I got.
I don't know. I still think it's a.
But still,
skunk.
But still, the point is, then they go put cameos of Clockwork Orange. And you see the nun from the what was that movie I mentioned? Oh,
Sinister?
No, the nun from it's Ken Russell, I think. And one of
Ken Russell's Flying Nun.
Devils.
The Devils, thank you. Yeah, they put the nun from the Devils in the background.
Really? Why
we talked about this, and they literally put every single property they own in that movie.
Oh, you didn't mention it. Yeah, but I've never seen it. I can't.
It's terrible.
It has also, as well as a character that got featured in Ready Player One. Joe, for those of us from the house, you'll remember that it also has the Arn Giant in it.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say they've got a fucking Chucky.
I mean, the mask is in it. The mask, you could list every single. But the fact that the clock they censored Pepe, but they put Clockwork Orange in there.
Listen, those guys just want a little bit of the old in out. So.
Looney Tunes is controversial. There is a bunch of Looney Tunes episodes we could talk about that they no longer air. And along with Disney forgets a little bit of its history too. Both studios made a lot of propaganda during the early 40s. I don't remember what was going on during then, but they sure were attacking 2 countries with their propaganda. Right?
Well, there was a lot of, let's face it, culturally insensitive cartoons. about people living in our country as well.
Yes. There's
because
blackface and racism and all that exists, and it's not that hard to find. Just take 5 seconds on you.
One thing I do have to say about the Warner Brothers, if you buy the gold collections, I think it's the second or third one, they start having Whoopi Goldberg does an introduction where she says these cartoons are of their time. They're complicated. That you need to be aware of this before you watch them. If you have children, there's a warning basically. But it's Whoopi Goldberg, and I think that's one thing I do have to give Warner Brothers credit for, is that while there are some that have never been released, they have released some and said, "Listen, this happened." Right? We're not hiding it completely. We're saying it happened. We're acknowledging it. We're having Whoopi Goldberg do an introduction and say, I still find these funny, but yes, they are complicated.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the things, because I think, I didn't know I'd go off on this tangent today, but I think, like, for instance, my challenge with Song of the South has a lot of, it was an idyllic time and look how happy everybody. Obviously, that's not right. At the same time, though, the people who made that film, including is it James Baskett, got a special Academy Award, and by not that they erase his work by not, and that's what I find complicated. I'm not saying you should show it to children, but at some point, not acknowledging it is also not acknowledging this is a real person who worked on this project, and putting that in context. I struggle with it. I don't think you should show it to children per se. But I think when you try to pretend nothing ever happened, you're also erasing history.
I'm not crazy about things just being locked up in a vault and forgotten about and never mentioned again.
Because it's easy.
Disney's really bad for it because they'll release that shit in Europe.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I was going to say, Song of the South, I think you can still get it on DVD in Europe. Can't hear, but you can in Europe. So and if you can't, I'm telling you, up until a few years ago, you could. It's just a double standard and a little bit of BS. But they are complicated. They are of their time. And if you guys want, I'll go first since mine's one of the more complicated ones of its time. Mine is from 1936 and it's directed by Tex Avery. And a lot of people are going to remember it not because of the cartoon. They're going to remember it because of the song. It's called I Love to Sing It. And a lot of people are going to remember it because of South Park. Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know that a lot of the kids, because they don't sing anymore, or they don't show it anymore. It depicts the story of a little owlet who wants to sing jazz. And instead his family wants him to do classical music, and they all have German accents for some odd reason, his parents, but he just wants to do jazz. And basically it's a ripoff and a plot. It's a tribute. They call it a tribute. It's a ripoff to the jazz singer, Al Jolson's jazz singer. And that's the plot of it. And a lot of people remember it to me, and it's one of my favorite ones. And like I said, I just started picking things that I didn't necessarily think you all would pick. And at the same time, I wanted to be a little bit more, I don't know. I oftentimes complain to myself that mine are a little too on the nose when we pick stuff, but
no, but I know exactly the episode you're talking about.
Why is this one so complicated now?
I don't know. I mean, I
was trying to look it up. I mean, the jazz singer is a little complicated, and I know there's things with blackface and stuff that we wouldn't do, but he's a little owl who wants to sing jazz. That's it.
Yeah.
Why is it buried? They have not buried another one I'm going to get to in a second. The WB never buried one. In fact, they used it all the time. Dave Chappelle even made jokes. Why is the owl buried?
I honestly,
I don't expect you all to have the answer.
I don't have the answer. And I'll be honest with you, Joe, you picked one of those ones that I know, but off the top of my head, I can't play it on my head. I just can't, other than it's about a family of owls in a home, and they're having like a talent show, right?
That's it. And he wants to sing jazz. And finally, the short version of it, I could go sing through sing, but most people only know the song because of South Park and some others. Right. But it's one of those things that gets stuck in your head. I want to sing it about the moon and singing and singing. I love to sing it. And
by the way, if you're not familiar, because it's when he gets probed, right?
Right.
He suddenly it's one of the very first
episode of South Park.
Where he gets probed, and when the thing in his butt gets activated, he starts singing the song. I love to sing.
Yeah. That's it. It is one of those things that's buried, and maybe it's because I am ignorant. And if you're listening to this and thinking this Hill Jack is talking and doesn't know what he's talking about, that's fine. I'm ignorant of many great things. Many details. Would you say, James, there's a plethora of ignorance in my life?
It has a connection,
a veritable plethora, sir.
A veritable plethora, a myriad of ignorance. However, I don't quite get this one. I guess it's just because if you got to say, well, he's trying to sing black. Well, so did Elvis, and so did Eminem.
Yeah, I don't know.
Saying about how he was trying to sing black and how Elvis did it before him too.
I don't know if it's his connection
where I'm
to
coming
Al
with
Jolson.
this?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the connection to
a movie about Elvis.
I don't know if it might be its connection to Al Jolson and the fact that Al Jolson famously sung in blackface. I'm not sure.
That could be it. I just would like someone from the WB to call me up, offer me a job, and then when they're done, explain to me why this is no longer. Now, I get that it's a little dated and a lot of people don't get the joke, but I'm pretty sure if I played the song, just like we were talking about Hambone the other day, pretty sure if I played the song, most of the kids are going, I love to sing it. At 44, love singing. Love to sing it. All right, I'm done preaching about this. Who's next?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to go with one. And it's so to give you a background on this one, I had a VHS tape. My father bought it. Was a cheap one. Well, for a while, yeah, it was like it was a cheap VHS tape that had a random set of cartoons on it. And all I remember is this one that I'm going to talk about. And then there's this one about an old man hobo who breaks into an orphanage and makes toys out of the junk that he finds around the orphanage for the kids at Christmas. It's weird. He's literally a hobo, but there you go. But this one is an homage to, again, one of the classic duos in comedy history, and one of my favorite comedy groups, comedy duos, Abbott and Costello. I'm talking about A Tale of Two Kitties.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of my personal favorites to this day.
You did say kitties.
Kitties.
Oh, damn it.
And the reason why A Tale of Two Kitties is mostly famous is I believe it is the premiere of Tweety Bird, who admittedly is not one of my favorite characters.
Me either.
I never really cared for it. Huh?
I'm all out of piggies. This is the best line Tweety Bird ever uttered.
And he did that for the first time in this episode. Yeah. And also too, the cool thing about because I don't want to talk about Tweety Bird, because Tweety Bird's actually not the reason why I love this cartoon. But Tweety Bird, his first appearance, it's also where he appeared naked. He's just complete skin colored. And this proved a problem for studio execs and censors because they thought it was too obscene. So that's why he now has the iconic yellow feathers, because he was just a baby bird in a nest, and baby birds are without feathers. So that's why they drew him that way.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. No, but I've always loved this cartoon. It's literally these two cats who are obvious caricatures of Abbott and Costello. The characters' names are Costello and Babbitt. Mm-hmm. And it's just them it's Babbitt trying to get his he's just this swarmy con man of a cat, and he's trying to get his lackey Costello to get Tweety Bird for him for dinner, and Costello just keeps getting bombarded by keep getting his butt kicked by Tweety Bird over and over again. But just hearing Mel Blanc do a dead-on impersonation of Lou Costello, it's phenomenal.
Hey Babbitt.
I don't want to do it too loud because my entire family's upstairs sleeping. But it also has one of the best lines. It's in terms of not only Looney Tunes, but just period. One of the best lines ever. So they're trying to get the bird, and Costello keeps screwing up, and Babbitt goes, "Come on, stupid, get the bird." And Costello goes, "Oh," because he's trying to climb over these wires to get Tweety Bird. And
Yeah.
Babbitt just keeps saying, "Give me the bird, give me the bird." And then Costello says, "If that Hayes office will let me, I'd give him the Boyd, all right."
If you all don't understand what that is, tell them about the Hayes office.
So the Hayes office is an allusion to the Hayes Code, which
Yes.
came about in the what was it? It was in the 40s.
It was the 30s and 40s, yeah.
30s and 40s, which basically completely censored movies and restricted them from what they could do. And it was kind of a biggest federal government item. And you could this is a horrible summary of what the Hayes Code was, but yeah, it was just a complete.
And part of the Hayes Code was to make sure the government didn't come in and take over.
Right.
Yeah. So it was them agreeing to things to make sure the government didn't come in and censor them. And it was get into this about what's his face in the movie. Leo plays him in The Aviator. What's his name?
Oh, Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes, and a couple of his films started to get a little racy, especially at the time with some buxom ladies. And it's an interesting time. If you want to look up some of that history, that's a good historical joke.
Yeah, it's just that whole thing about them trying to censor Hollywood, and they did it in weird ways, and it never made sense. And you could even go look into how it was just random and made no sense. But yeah, this line, especially if you're a movie buff like us, it's hilarious.
I got to go look that up. Yeah, that's pretty good.
But yeah, I just love it. And it even has Tweety's favorite line of "I thought I saw a putty cat." It's in this movie. It's in this one. So I just love everything about this cartoon. Yeah. So that's all I have. James, what do you have?
James, ain't nobody in hell can hear you. No, you've got it on
totally muted. Totally muted. Hey, nothing.
That was the best job you've ever done, Chad.
Best I've ever looked too. If I turn this camera off, anyway. No, I'm going to talk about an episode that I wasn't going to talk about till I realized you all were talking about episodes, and I thought about what's the most quotable episodes that I love, and I immediately had to jump to this one because literally my father quoted this episode all the time. Just if you were talking about something and he didn't care, he would quote this episode. And that is the great episode, Hair Raising Hair.
Oh, damn it. I knew what would take one.
Hair Raising Hair is one of the best episodes of all time.
Well, it's also directed by Chuck Jones. What is it, Chad? Did he take one of yours?
He came close.
He took mine. It was number 2.
Hair Raising Hair, my father would always do the scene. So if you're not familiar with Hair Raising Hair, well, you're uncultured swine. But other than that, Hair Raising Hair is the episode where the Peter Lorre-like doctor lures in Bugs Bunny with the mechanical wind-up female rabbit. It's one of those episodes where Bugs Bunny doesn't cross-dress. But he then lures in, and of course, he unleashes the big hairy monster on.
Do you know his name?
Gossamer.
Right? Yep. Gossamer is the name.
He unleashes Gossamer, which most people know is the big hairy monster with tennis shoes.
Yep.
And of course, hijinks ensue. But my father loved the entire scene where he tricks him into getting the manicure.
Yep.
And let's put our patties in the water. But my father would do the entire thing that follows.
Most people, they don't do the whole thing.
Oh, he would do the entire monsters. Must be
that's what I always
people.
do.
I was talking to Martha just the other, and I've now done it so much that my children will do it back to me if I'm talking about something. Literally, my eldest will go, "That's great, Dad. Monsters must be so many interesting people. I love interesting people. Do you mean interest?" And they'll go on and on and on. What's also great about this episode, though, is of course it breaks the fourth wall at the end. Bugs Bunny's finally cornered. Everything's gone wrong, and he's got him by the throat. And Bugs Bunny goes, "Wait, Doc, wait, look out there." And of course, Gossamer looks directly into the camera and screams, "Ah, people," and runs off.
Yes.
And that's. I mean, then the mechanical robot comes back, and they have another little scene there. But it is a great episode. And as y'all were quoting lines, I'm like, I wasn't going to talk about hair raising hair.
Well, that's because you're a son of a bitch and you stole my second one.
Well, and then I psychically used my powers to learn that you were going to do it. And I thought, how can I ruin Joe's day other than by obviously stealing his land? By the way, you've got 24 hours.
I got 24 hours to get off. Hey, but can I add just a little bit to that?
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead.
So one of the things I love about it, and the reason it was going to be it's probably my top 3. I just wanted to go. I thought the flow went better with going with the other one first,
right?
Of the show. But it has. I do love Halloween. I do love horror films. They're not my favorite, but they're right up there. And it's everything. It's a dark castle. It's like Transylvania. Yeah. For anyone who knows, I just love Peter Lorre. I love bad Peter Lorre impressions. I tried my best to get it down over the years and still never got it.
I think that's the only reason. And by the way, I think that's the only reason I got Joe hooked on Gilbert Gottfried's podcast is because Gilbert every episode did a Peter Lorre impression.
I love he does the best Peter Lorre. Yeah. Well, and then Gilbert and I share, like you all, just to love. I knew he loved horror films, but anyway, I just love hair raising. And the thing, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Zemeckis because I was going to talk about this with us. Then when he's talking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, when they were trying to build Who Framed Roger Rabbit, is that they wanted to take little things from all the different the animation. So one, from I'm blanking on something. So the one Disney, nobody did animation looked better than Disney detail. But Looney Tunes, it wasn't necessarily as it was fun. No one had more 3-dimensional characters than the Looney Tunes.
Right.
Looney Tunes, those are people. We know those people. I don't know that I know Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
but I know Bugs Bunny.
And this is one of those things that always baffled me. And it's simply, I really blame Warner Brothers for everything that they do. It's my favorite studio because they have so much of everything I love. And then I just watch them mangle. But I still can never fathom why there's this cult obsession with Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Goofy. And then to a lesser, you sort of have that with Bugs, Daffy, and Sylvester and Elmer, but not to that extent. And they're just the characters are so much better. There's like I can give you maybe one Disney short that I love.
I have more than that.
I don't.
I really do.
It's one or two.
But
now I will.
I have the answer. To me,
it's marketing for me.
No, I don't even think it is. James,
merchandising.
Well, that's part of it. They are better at marketing. They are better at marketing. They are better at merchandising. But I think it's when it's easier to understand Mickey and Goofy and Donald because it's much more simplistic and it's something you've latched onto your childhood. I think there's multiple, and I swear to God, I guess I've given the Looney Tunes too much credit, but I don't think so. I think there are multiple levels to those things that you enjoy more as you become a preteen, a teen, and an adult. Especially as an adult.
But can we, I mean,
does that make sense to you all?
I also
there's more levels to it. I just think there's more. And people are attached to Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, all those things when you're 3 and 4. I watched it with my kid.
I think you're right, but I think the other side of it is that everybody thinks of and you said it a moment ago that the animation looks cleaner with Disney. It's more polished. But I think Looney Tunes is actually, I'm going to make some people upset, but I don't mean to. It's higher culture, right?
Yes,
I mean,
there's another level.
A tree grows in Brooklyn is shown how many times in old Warner Brothers cartoons, right? And it's a throwaway dog about, it makes dogs run off because they're going to go pee, right? But how many people know a tree grows in Brooklyn because of Warner Brothers?
Yeah,
it's almost like Sam Raimi throwing a farewell
to
arms into Evil Dead 2, right? You can
Mel Brooks making a Kafka joke.
Yeah, you can make twice. You can make these little comments and you can do it in throwaway gags, and it hits like other people. Farewell arms, he lost an arm. Okay, great. But then it also hits if you've read that or if you're familiar with this. Okay, it's another layer. And I don't think, and by the way, I'm a big fan of Disney animation too.
I am too.
Kill me.
I am too.
But as Joe was saying, it's another layer. There's
And again, I'm just not. I never sit down and watch Disney shorts. I just never can.
Oh,
but
there's 2 or 3.
Oh, Lonesome Ghost.
Lonesome Ghost and
that
Trick or
one where they're
Treat.
cleaning those the clock tower. That's good.
Yeah,
No, I'm saying there's a few, but I'm not saying that there's like we are marathoning. Me and my daughters are marathoning Looney Tunes cartoons. We are through season 17 for God's sakes, and it still keeps getting better. We've tried watching Mickey, and they're boring, except for a few. I'm not saying.
They're very
like the Chippendale Christmas tree episode.
That's a good one.
It's a great one, but now compare that to anything of Looney Tunes. There's no comparison.
Well, and also, Looney Tunes
but they're still done better. That's the other thing. It's just
I know.
Disney animation was the best. Is the best.
And I don't know. And also, too, the other thing I was kind of curious about, because if I'm not mistaken, Disney Animation Studios, they closed in the mid 60s or late 60s. And then we didn't see a resurgence of Warner Brothers Animation until the 80s. So that could have been another staple as to why there's a whole thing of where Disney just kept going.
This is my theory. And I truly believe that I think, and that's part of it, Chad, and part of it, Warner Brothers has never had a wet dream they couldn't fuck up.
Right. Yeah. Now,
but I really think the characters are just more 3-dimensional, and there's just other layers of humor there that I don't know my 4-year-old or a 5-year-old is going to necessarily get. And we do have an attachment to the marketing and the magic of Disney. It's just hard not to.
I guess I'm different than because I don't have that tie to Disney. I just don't have that magic feeling to them for the most part with them.
What you do when you go to Disney World?
Somewhat, but it's only about watching it through my kids' eyes. Not through me.
Oh yeah.
I will go
without my children. James. He did sit in gum when we went.
I was about to say, and I don't know. They don't even sell in the park. Did I mention
that?
In
the park, and he's setting gum.
That
sums up Chad.
Because I went to Disney a few times before this, even with Joe. I never got to go with James, and I enjoyed myself, but I was never Disney, and then I just never got it. I had fun, don't get me wrong, but I just never got it. And then when I went with my kids for the first time and saw it through their eyes, and I like even when we went a couple months ago, saw it through their eyes again, I'm like, oh, this is for them. I am enjoying it, watching it, feeding through them. And it's a completely different experience. So yeah, no, but anyway, we got to get back on Looney Tunes because
I'm up. And the next one I want to talk about is another, I don't want to call it a horror one, but it's one of the darker ones. It's Transylvania 65000.
That's a good one.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't realize this was the last one directed by Chuck Jones before he left and yeah, it's the last one he did before he went to MGM, and it came out in 1963. And it's the second to last cartoon of Warner Brothers. It's his second to last. I'm so sorry. So he's an umpire trying to beat a vampire with 6 simple magic incantations. And this is the title of 65000. It's a pun on a song about Glenn Miller. Right.
Pennsylvania 65000. Yeah.
And if you don't remember this one, it's one of the where you can remember Bugs walking around going abracadabra, and then the guy would turn into a bat, hocus pocus, and then he'd turn back in and fall and hurt himself. And that's the running gag for most of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he also uses the connotation of Walla Walla, Washington. There's a witch hazel joke. Hold on, I'm trying to remember everything I had to hold down here. It's one of those that I also don't know that it's one of the best, but it has a special place in my heart. And I just realized that it came out towards the end of the run in the mid 60s. I mean, cartoons by that time were about to die off, especially in front of.
I believe the next year is when Warner Brothers shut down their animation department.
Yeah, it was right towards the end of when they were just stopping to do. I mean, it's also television. The cartoons were on television. Nobody wanted the cartoons in front of the movies anymore. You also didn't have news in front of the movies, which was something that used to happen all the time, because you would watch news where? At your home at 6 o'clock. You didn't need it in front of the movie anymore. I do feel that life would be a little richer and a little sweeter if you went to the movie theater and you got a cartoon before your movie.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. Like
a new cartoon, they wouldn't all have to be good, but if you
I always wonder if that's why I enjoyed Dick Tracy as much as I do, because I got that Roger Rabbit cartoon in front of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, don't get me wrong. Dick Tracy is still one of my favorites. It's not my top 10 by any means, but I still love it. And I just wonder if I just had that tie of I got to watch a cartoon before it.
Maybe. I don't know. It's one of those I like. Chad.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go. I struggled because there are just so many, and I really didn't want to pick a Bugs Bunny cartoon. I didn't because I just felt like it was on the nose.
But Bugs is the man, dude.
But when talking about Bugs Bunny, I also have to talk about one of my favorite characters, Pete Puma. So I got to talk about Rabbit Skin.
Okay.
From 1952. I don't know if you all, Joe, are you familiar with Rabbit Skin? And
I'd have to look it up.
So it's all about, so Bugs Bunny finds this little bitty kitty rabbit who sounds an awful lot like Chip and Dale. And and this Puma is trying to eat the little bunny rabbit. So Bugs Bunny takes the kid under his wings and teaches him how to defend himself against Pete Puma. And Pete Puma, who is voiced by Stan Freberg.
Oh, really? I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this one, Chad. I haven't seen this in a long time. I remember the visuals of it, but I don't.
Yeah, Stan Freberg is the voice of Pete Puma. But yeah, it's it's one of those ones where it's repetitive because it's always, would you like one lump or two?
Yes. Yes.
And Pete Puma, he's always going, the way he talks, I don't want to do it on the microphone because he just goes, yeah.
Right. But he's also in drag.
Right. And you get but
now I've got to go back and watch this. Damn you, Chad.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the line. Okay. So, one of the favorite, again, it's just repetitive, the whole one lump or two. It's constantly over and over again because Pete Puma is so dumb. He just falls for the same shtick every single time. It's all about the delivery because each time it's a buildup, but it's a different way of getting to it. But one of the favorite parts is Pete goes, well, I think I'll have to be going now. And then Bugs says, oh, no, you can't leave. Well, you got to have a nice cup of tea with me. And this is like the third or fourth time he's done it. And he gives him the tea. And Bugs goes, there's nothing as sociable as a nice cup of tea. I always say, how many lumps you want? Oh, 3 or 4. And then he just whacks him on the head like 5 times, really, really hard. And Bugs goes, oh dear, I gave you one too many. Well, I can fix that. And he just proceeds to hammer one of the bumps in. And then for good measure, he goes, there, and here's a cigar for you. And he shoves a cigar in his mouth, lights it, and it explodes on even to that right now, just explaining it, I am laughing. It wells me with so much joy to watch Rabbit Skin. And I just have to it had to be brought up. There were so many I could bring up because again,
let's do an honorable mention through because there's one I want to talk about too. There's one I desperately want to talk about.
Okay, James, go.
Gentlemen, I have to be honest. There is a very important one that it was not my intent to talk about, but you all may realize this. I enjoy things that are absolutely nonsensical. The weirder it is, the better.
I've experienced your friendship.
Yes. So, and maybe that's why I'm friends with you. Everything, but anyway,
that's where that was going.
Yes. All right. Well,
you're not that important. I was talking about me.
There is one cartoon that has what is the best song ever recorded for a Looney Tunes album that has these lyrics. Now, I will not attempt to sing this a la the character, but I will just quote it. Peeping through the knothole of Grandpa's wooden leg, who will wind the clock when I am gone? Go get the axe. There's a flea in Lizzie's ear, and a boy's best friend is his mother. Now, that's just the opening verse, gentlemen. That song, by the way, is called Go Get the Axe. And it is a song that is featured in a good, again, I didn't know Bugs Bunny would be in both of mine, but here we are. Hair Trigger with Bugs Bunny. Now, again, this is Bugs Bunny versus Yosemite Sam, and I love the character of Yosemite Sam. But what makes this episode so great to me is it becomes utterly nonsensical because it's one of those episodes that ends and it's making fun of the old serials and all that stuff because Sam finally has Bugs Bunny's tied up and all that stuff, and it freezes frames. And then this narrator comes on and the words start appearing on the screen. will our hero escape? And it's all always going on. And we don't know how he does it, but all of a sudden Bugs Bunny walks onto the screen in a top hat and a suit carrying a bag of gold, looks directly into the camera and says, "He doesn't know me very well, does he?" And that's the end of the episode. It's nonsensical, but it's so great. By the way, what most people don't get in modern audiences, it's funny still, but that him looking into the camera and saying, "He doesn't know me very well, does he?" is actually from Red Skelton. Red Skelton had a character called the Mean Little Kid that would end every skit with, "He doesn't know me very well, does he?" And that's Bugs Bunny mocking Red Skelton, ending skits that way, or caricaturing, if maybe not mocking. But yeah, it's just, again, it's an episode that is completely nonsensical, but it opens with Bugs Bunny singing "Go Get the Axe." And I remember watching it with my family and all of us just rolling when we realized what Bugs Bunny was singing was utter nonsense. Like, there's a flea in somebody's ear, go get an axe. And it was hilarious. Every bit of it worked for me.
Sorry, I'm laughing about it now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not quite Crambone or whatever, but it's almost there. It's almost there where you're like, oh, did he just say go get an axe? I mean, it's perfect, and it's nonsensical, and I love the fact the episode doesn't pull back from how nonsensical it gets up to the time where it just freeze frames and then it ends with that "He doesn't know me very well, does he?" Never explains how he escapes, doesn't have to. It's just funny. And so again, I had two other episodes picked out, so we'll have to do some honorable mentions, but those will be my two main ones because they are the ones that if I ever catch them on, I stop. And I do have the first one, Hair Raising Hair. I have it on DVD on a Halloween collection that Warner Brothers put out, and every Halloween I watch it without fail.
I'd love to have that. All right, so my honorable mention was rated in 1994. It was voted number 5 of the 50 greatest cartoons of all time by the members of the animation field. And it's one of those ones that they've gotten rid of. I Want to Sing It. But One Froggy Evening you can still find and you can still watch. It's directed by Chuck Jones, and it stars, who's the name of the frog, Chad? Do you remember?
Michigan J.
Michigan J.
Frog. That's right.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my from ground.
It's a singing frog. I don't know what to tell you if you've never seen it. It's a show about a singing frog who won't shut the hell up, and every time someone finds him, they think they're going to be rich, and then they realize, they find him in a construction site where he's been buried, and you find out that, oh no, this frog won't shut the hell up. It's awful. Guys, did I miss something with the plot?
No, that's about it.
But that damn frog is hilarious. That short is hilarious. Well, and in the 90s, they did a WB, and then Dave Chappelle had the whole thing about, and I'm racist as hell.
Warner Brothers, though, Warner Brothers Animation, including when they partnered with Amblin, has played that pastiche, I guess, of the character that won't stop talking. Actually, one of my favorite Animaniacs has the guy that tells a story about meeting Bob Barker, and it's voiced by Ben Stein. And it goes on for 10 minutes, and it literally shows even the Warner Brothers. They're trying to brush their teeth and go to bed, and he's behind them with a toothbrush in his mouth going, and that's when I realized I could meet Bob Barker. And it's just, so that concept, even though they that Michigan J. Frog may not get screen time anymore for some complicated reasons, but
I don't think they've done away with Michigan J. Frog.
No, I've seen plush Michigan J. Frogs.
And by the way, they shouldn't. It's hilarious. I still laugh. I'm thinking about it now, laughing because no one speaks a word in it except the damn frog. That's it. There's no other character that talks in that short except the frog singing. That's it. Every story is told through pictures. Chuck Jones, brilliant animation. It's Chuck Jones because of the side eye. If you think of the Grinch and he's sitting there and all of a sudden his eye shifts and he's like, that's Chuck Jones style. Mm-hmm. Guy who finds him does the same damn thing. You've seen it through 32,000 Chuck Jones shorts. I just love it. Chad, you got a quick pick?
God, yeah. I've got several. I don't want to pick another Bugs Bunny one because I've already mentioned one. So I'm going to talk about Daffy Duck Slept Here. Okay. From 1948. It's the one where Porky Pig is desperately trying to find a room to get some sleep. And he goes into this hotel room and there's only one vacancy. But the problem is he has to share a room, and that room is with Daffy Duck. And it's all about Porky trying to get some sleep and Daffy doing one thing after another to prevent him from sleeping in that bed. I just love it.
It's a good
one. What?
It's a good one. I love it.
Yeah, I know. It's just anyone where. So Daffy Duck is one of those characters and I think, there's a couple, but he's one of these ones that had two drastically different roles in Looney Tunes. At the beginning, he was the Bugs Bunny character, but then he became the heel. He became the Elmer Fudd. He became Yosemite Sam. He was the guy who always was trying to do the terrible thing, and Bugs Bunny always outwitted him. And this is one of those ones where he was just a crazy man, just bugging the crap out of poor Porky, and Porky's always the innocent schlub. So
Porky's the everyman. He really is the everyman.
Yeah, that's his role.
Yeah.
And he's constantly getting stepped on, unfortunately. You hardly see
He's
Porky.
the everyman.
You hardly see Porky get his comeuppance. He never gets it. He never wins. He's always getting stepped on. So yeah, no, I just love this one. It's an honorable mention. I could go on and on. There are several.
And if you guys really like this episode, let us know. We'll come back to it.
So now we need to talk about our characters, right?
No, James didn't give his.
I want to do one quick honorable mention. I have to do this because you mentioned Daffy Duck, and this was one I had to talk about. So I did my two that I came up with as I went along because I'm like, God, I got to talk about him. Duck-a-Muck, though, is one of those. I watched it as a kid. As soon as it came on, I'm like, oh, God, it's that one. I got to sit down and watch it. Duck-a-Muck, directed by Chuck Jones, written by Michael Maltese. Is the episode, if you've seen it, you know it, where the animator picks on Daffy Duck. Daffy Duck normally gets to torment everybody, and then the animator takes control. This was rated number 2 out of those top 100 animated moments. That being said, it is also still so relevant that the recently rebooted Animaniacs does an entire episode where an animator does it to Yakko, and Yakko even has the line, "We've done this before, and it was with Daffy, and people, it was done better." So he has a line.
This has been done several times. Tiny Toons did it.
Yeah, and it's just this idea of, of what that means. So yes, that is, again, hands down. If you've never seen it, Duck-a-Muck, Google it, you'll find it, I'm sure, somewhere. But it is an episode that it spends all episode breaking the fourth wall, and Daffy is trying to, we need to make a cartoon, bud. We got to do this, and the animator just torments him nonstop.
And him just getting more aggressively irritated because that's the Daffy Duck you love.
Oh yeah. So if you've never seen Duck-a-Muck, check it out.
Duck-a-Muck. All right, some of my favorite characters. I will go first. We were supposed to pick 2, and I wanted to go a little more obscure, and one of mine is going to be, because once again, James, as you were talking about quotable, I've quoted this my whole life. I've quoted this to friends and family. My friends and family quoted to me, but it's Hugo the Abominable Snowman. What?
I thought you were going to pick mine.
Hugo I will love him and hold him and squeeze him and call him what?
George.
Why George, guys? Because they're fucking Looney Tunes. That's why they're loony. Why does he call him George? Have you ever thought about it?
No, that's one of those ones. I wondered if that was one of those references I just didn't get, and I never have looked it up.
It may be a reference, like what? Yeah, like Maroon. I didn't know what Maroon was till a few years ago. That right. Bugs is an idiot and doesn't know that it's supposed to be pronounced moron.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I never knew that either until
I didn't know that until a year or two ago. I had no idea. I was like, what a maroon? I was like, oh, that's just funny to say when you're a kid. And then later I was like, why the hell does he call him a maroon? And you're like, oh no, Bugs didn't read it correctly and he's an idiot because they're loony. And he just says maroon because he read that. So why does he call him George? The Abominable Snowman doesn't show up in a lot, but so many fond memories. And actually, he's kind of sad. He's sitting there with his buddies. He's melting, and it's not really him. And anyway, that's one of my favorites. Who's next?
I'll go next because I don't want James to steal mine on the off chance that he does. I don't think he would, but I'm going to go for it. And this is definitely an obscure one. One of my favorite characters of all time is Beaky Buzzard.
Beaky Buzzard?
Beaky Buzzard.
Oh, is that the go out and where his mother sends him out to get dinner?
Nope. I don't want that.
Nope.
Don't wanna. I've been saying that for years.
It has.
I know exactly who it is now. I just didn't know his name. It has
some great scene. The scene that I always remember, and I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, Chad, is when at the end, or in I don't know how many episodes he's in, Chad.
Well, I'm gonna get into that.
But where he thinks he's dead because he's landed where the skeleton was, and Bugs, he's no, and it's somebody else's rib cage.
Yeah.
It's such a great scene. It's a great scene because he plays it so like, oh my God, I'm dead.
Yeah. But no, his most iconic phrase is nope, don't want nope. But he was created in 1942 and first appeared in Bugs Bunny Gets the Boyd, which is the one I believe James is referencing, directed by Bob Clampett. He was also Bob Clampett also gets credited for creating Beaky. In the original cartoon, he's actually not called Beaky. He's called Killer. He didn't get the name Beaky Buzzard until his second appearance in The Bashful Buzzard, which is where we hear nope, don't wanna. And this is the thing, Beaky only appeared in 4 episodes of Looney Tunes. That's it. Most people believe his appearance was actually limited due to the untimely death of the actor who provided his voice, Kent Rogers. Rogers did two cartoons for Looney Tunes as Beaky. And then he was unfortunately killed in a training flight while serving as an ensign in the Navy during World War II, because, that's where everybody went.
Yeah.
And after his death, so one of the more famous episodes of Beaky is when it's the lion. I don't know if you remember this episode. I didn't look up the title of it. I wish I would have, but basically it involves a lion who's having his birthday party, and he gets a birthday card from Beaky letting him know he's now at the expectancy where a lion's supposed to die, and he's there to eat him. And it's all about the Beaky following this lion around as he keeps coming closer and closer to death, waiting to peck his innards out.
That's just good family entertainment.
And then the lion finally gets fed up. He flies to the moon. He goes into a cave, boulders himself up, comes out 20 years later, and he's like all crippled and bunched over. He goes, well, now I'm you might as well have at me now. And Beaky goes, I can't. I lost my teeth. All I can eat these marshmallows. Which, by the way,
now I gotta go watch that.
That was going to be my honorable mention, but because I was talking about Beaky, this is where I'm talking about it. It's one of my favorite episodes, and I didn't realize that was a Mel Blanc doing the voice of Beaky, and I believe it may have been the last they ended on a high note. So yeah, Beaky unfortunately only appeared in 4 episodes. James.
I'm going to have to talk about one that I guess technically only appeared as a major character in 1 episode. I thought it was more than that, but was important enough that later on has gotten tons of street cred. And that would, of course, be Yo-Yo Dodo.
James, it was going to be mine. I love Yo-Yo Dodo.
Yo-Yo Dodo. So
Yo-Yo Dodo? I need to look it up.
Porky in Wacky Land is the name of the episode where he is the main antagonist. Porky goes to find the last dodo. Are you really the last dodo? Yes, I'm the last dodo.
I'm the last of the dodos.
And of course, Wacky Land is tons of references to how weird things are. There is an Al Jolson reference. There's also, though, a mystical beast that has 3 heads that conveniently look like the 3 Stooges. It came out in 1938. And it is, the entire plot is going to get the last dodo. He finds out there's one dodo left in Wacky Land, which is a nonsensical place, of course, in quote unquote darkest Africa. So Porky Pig's going to go and get the last of the dodos. And of course, it's your typical Bugs Bunny type thing, except instead of Bugs Bunny, it's Yo-Yo Dodo. And he goes through all these things. He torments him, all that stuff. What's really, and at the end, by the way, Porky Pig gets him and he starts to celebrate. And what does Yo-Yo Dodo have to do? He has to call for help. And that's when all the other dodos show up. So he's not really the last of the dodos. And anyway, I love that, though, because I loved that watching that as a kid. And it's number 2 on that list of top 50 animated. It's now preserved in the Library of Congress as being culturally significant. But if you were a kid in the 80s, you knew it was a big deal because we also got Go-Go Dodo in Animaniacs, which was one of, or I'm sorry, in Tiny Toons. Sorry,
he's my favorite. He's my favorite character in Tiny Toons.
Yeah, Tiny Toons. I mean, literally, it was. He was just because anytime they went to Wacky Land, you knew it was going to be a good episode of Tiny Toons.
Yeah, that was one of the more serious episodes of Tiny Toons. Is when the mysterious circus guy comes and kidnaps Go-Go and all the other inhabitants of Wacky Land. They start to die off because they're out of Wacky Land.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but Yo-Yo Dodo one major episode and is remembered years and years and years later.
And the animation in that is phenomenal. You talk about Disney, you should definitely go back and look at this one. It is superbly
directed by Bob Clampett. The story was by Warren Foster and of course Mel Blanc, Billy Bletcher, Leon Schlesinger. There it is. But yeah, I mean, it really is. It's a great episode that just, I can remember not Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes got repackaged for Nick at Night for a while, if anybody remembers that. And it seemed like once a week they would play that episode. And it didn't matter because once a week I'd watch that episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, Yo-Yo Dodo, if you've never seen it, definitely it's one of my favorite. If that episode is on, I'll watch it. It doesn't
Same
matter.
here. Yeah, it's one of my favorites as well.
So there you go.
All right. So my last one.
This is the one I was wondering if Joe's going to steal it, because Joe and I think we have like we share a favorite character.
I'm pulling another controversial one.
Okay. Then that's not it.
This isn't him, but who is this gentleman? If you're
listening, Rodriguez or Speedy Gonzalez.
Rodriguez. Anyway, if you're
the golfer.
Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I'm holding up. It's a Speedy Gonzalez glass. Pepsi made them in 1973. So my friend Jerry Greer gave this to me because I asked him, and he collects all these. And I rarely do this, but I go, I want that. Will you give it to me? And he only has about 4,672 of them. But the one that he drinks his bourbon out of and keeps at his home is from the character that they have killed off and no longer talk about. And I'm talking about Slowpoke Rodriguez. Now, the thing about Slowpoke, and you could still find this glass of Slowpoke, and it goes for a little bit of money on eBay, but it's not completely, it's just not enough for me to, it's a little too high for me to pay for. The thing about Slowpoke is that he walks around. He's the slowest mouse in all of Mexico, is the story behind him. And
he is the
he's the antithesis to Speedy Gonzalez. Right, James.
I can't believe it. I said Chi Rodriguez.
Okay. So Speedy Gonzalez.
At least you didn't say Chi-Chi's a celebration of food.
Oh my God.
Hold on. He's cousin. He's Speedy's cousin, right? And Speedy's the fastest. But the thing is people shit on this one and they've killed it. But Slowpoke wasn't slow in the head, the La Cabeza. He's not slow in the head. He's actually the smartest person in the room. He just speaks in a monotone voice and is slow with his movements. He outsmarts the cat with alternatives and more effective methods than anyone else. Like in one episode, he has a gun, right? In another one, he's able to use his eyes to is it Sylvester? I can't remember. To use his eyes to mysticize him, to use it, right? He is the smartest one in the room. He outsmarts the cat every time, where Speedy's always running away. I'm not saying Speedy's stupid. I'm just saying, why do we get this? Which is me holding up my Speedy Gonzalez one more time.
Well, I think Speedy's been kind of canceled too, by the way.
Well, no, Speedy was in the Gabriel Iglesias did the voice of him.
But here's the thing, though. Yeah. Is this a commentary in general? Is that if you're athletic, will put you more in the mainstream? He uses his physicality.
No, I just like the Slowpoke Rodriguez had a gun.
No, I'm saying physicality, and we accept that, but
that's why Joe is a true American.
No,
if you do 3 more bars of that, you owe Hulk Hogan a Coke.
Hulk Hogan a brother. Sorry. You say brother 5 times in the mirror, the Hulkster shows up and rips your shirt. So,
oh my God, that'd be great.
It would be, well, yeah, until he ripped my favorite shirt, and then
don't wear your favorite shirt when you do it.
What else am I? What if I wore no shirt? Ooh, Hulkster, what are you gonna rip now?
You're gonna get a waxing, brother.
Oh, brother. All right. Anyway, so I I didn't mean to be political tonight with all my choices, but this is the one I wanted to end with. They allow Speedy Gonzalez.
You gonna request an honorable mention, because that'll help me out with my honor?
I've got one I want to honorable mention that will actually be my most mainstream one, but I love him. But I got to talk about these other characters too. So
all right, go. Who's next?
All right, so mine is more mainstream, and the reason mine's mainstream, which irritates me, is because of merchandising, which irritates the hell out of me.
Merchandising.
I'm talking about Marvin the Martian.
I'd say that was actually one of my honorable mentions. So I'm glad you did it, because Marvin the Martian, if it's a Marvin the Martian cartoon, it's another one that I don't care what I'm doing. My kid's head is stuck in a vice. I will still be like, Daddy, get your head out in a minute. I'm going to watch this cartoon. That's Martian. He's hilarious.
I used to do a spot on Marvin, and I can't do it anymore. Puny Earthling. Yeah, see, I can't do it anymore. I used to do.
There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Boom.
I love that.
I mean, hold on. Marvin's right over here behind my glass.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, I mean, well, you guys keep on talking.
Puny Earthling.
Yeah.
But no, I just love Marvin. I didn't realize he only appeared in 5 cartoons.
Do you know this is true? Actually, there was a. I didn't know
I'd be able. Appeared in 5.
Yeah,
I thought it was more. Well, yeah, that makes sense. But this is iconic. I'm holding up Marvin.
Yeah, he's iconic, and he's like, honestly, he in terms of and it's all because of merchandising. He's almost as iconic as Bugs and Daffy, because
I don't know about that, but I do know.
Do you know who said that was as close as he would get to believing in God?
No, what? Chuck Jones.
Harlan Ellison. Harlan Ellison said, I believe in Marvin the Martian before I'd believe in God. And it's a great line, because he actually agreed to sign a Marvin the Martian, because he goes, at least him I have respect for.
By the way, this is a really cool Marvin the Martian. I forgot that he's all posable and shit.
I can't remember the context of that story, but I never dreamed I'd get to bring up Harlan Ellison Day. But no, Harlan Ellison actually said the best cartoon and the best that he viewed as godlike level was Marvin the Martian, because at least he had a plan and he was going to change the cosmos.
An earth-shattering kaboom. Yeah, I should have. That didn't even really register him. That's actually one of my favorites.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I thought you would have took him, because that's why I had my backup, because Joe and I have
I was trying to go a little bit more interesting, and I just have questions about some of the shit that we choose and choose not.
Did you hear that side comment, James? So our picks aren't interesting. His is interesting.
No,
that's what he just said. You heard it, right, James?
You know why?
I mean, because I don't know that I needed to say it.
Hold on, let me do this. You know why, Chad?
Why, James?
Because Joe picks interesting characters. He likes interesting characters. I was talking to Martha just the other day, and I said, you know who picks interesting characters? Joe picks interesting characters. I would like to meet interesting characters. When you like to meet interesting characters, Chad, I can do it all day, folks. Don't push me.
What is that? What is the I need to eat song that you do for your kids all the time?
Oh, no. Hold on. I'm getting to it. Don't take my credit.
Oh my God. Go.
All right,
I haven't even talked about Marvin yet.
Go ahead. Talk about
what is there to talk about?
Chad.
So Marvin first appeared in 1948.
Hold on. Where is he from again?
He's from Venus.
Was he? Yeah. So he first appeared in 1948's Daredevil Hair, which was created by Chuck. He was created by Chuck Jones. Again, he was only appeared in 5 episodes of Looney Tunes between 1948 and 1963. They're pretty spread out. And he only later appeared in 5 additionals in the 80s and 90s, which I'll get into in a minute. Did you know he's never mentioned by name during those first shorts? He's only called Commander Flying Saucer X2. The name Marvin the Martian did not come around till the 90s, when they found out that he had merchandising potential. Did not know that.
I didn't know that either, but that makes sense. Yeah.
And the reason I love Marvin is because he's the perfect combination of science fiction and slapstick comedy. 2 of my favorite things. If
only they could get Twizzlers in there somehow, some way.
Yeah. Chuck Jones. I want to talk about when I found a great quote from Chuck. It's actually on the Chuck Jones website about why he created Marvin the way he did. He created Marvin in that style because he's a Martian, so he decided that Marvin should be dressed as a Martian. His first step was creating the character was therefore to draw the curiously tuffled helmet worn by Mars, the Roman god of war. which I thought was fascinating.
That is interesting. I didn't know that.
And then he figured black ants are scary, so that's why you have the ant black face and a couple of angry eyes behind his helmet. Then Martian has no evidence of a mouth, but people are rarely aware of that. I then decided a metal skirt was suitable wear for a god of war, and suitable for not putting tennis shoes on an ant seemed like a good idea. So I gave Marvin a pair of tennis shoes, like a lot of my characters. I just found that fascinating, so I had to bring that up. That was his whole build on Marvin. Cool. So yeah, just found it fascinating. Marvin the Martian, again, is one of my favorite characters just because I specifically love his interactions with Daffy, because he always manages to one-up Daffy. Because again, you know, there are the bugs where Bugs gets his one-up on Marvin, but the fact that Daffy just can't get Marvin, all Marvin does is pull out the gun, boom, zaps him, and he's done.
But he's Duck Dodgers
of the 20th century.
I love Duck Dodgers. I actually have that on. I have that and Marvin on my Christmas tree.
Yeah, James,
that I have up now in April.
Well, as
today, again, April.
Nope, it would be July.
As
that's bullshit right there.
As Joe alluded to, and as I've already said, I like nonsense
about me being more interesting.
And he does meet interesting people, Chad. He does.
He says interesting.
See, you have to lean into it, gentlemen.
I
love this. Keep telling me how interesting.
I mean, you're not interesting, but you meet interesting people.
So many interesting monsters.
I'm out of water.
Oh, that is.
No, I want to talk about. He's only in 2 episodes of the classic, you know, before the reboots and all that in the 80s. And that is, as Joe was alluding to before I cut him off, a minor character, but an important one. Anthony Flea, often referred to only as A. Flea.
Oh my
now,
God.
What Joe was alluding to, and what I do to my children all the time, matter of fact, not even related to us doing this show tonight. I sent the clip to my wife yesterday. And he is best known for his
what
musical.
Clip did you send?
The clip where he sings.
Is this another one of your Dick Nixon picks?
He sings his famous song, which goes, of course, there'll be food around the corner, food around the corner, food around the corner for me. Lord of mercy, honey, food around the corner, food around the corner, food around the corner for me. The plot to
that's funny.
Oh, it's every time. Once again, I don't care what's happening. I hear food around the corner and my attention is taken. I don't care. Oh,
Yeah, Joe put the ear. So yeah, that's been replaced by Crambone for me.
I love them both. Crambone beats out the Flea a little bit. But
yeah,
literally, you could come in and this cartoon could be on the TV, and you could say, "Hey, the Swedish bikini team bus broke down outside," and they're all outside. I'd be like, "Hold on, that's more important things that are on the TV." No, A. Flea.
I'm like that with One Lump or Two.
Basically, the plot to his first appearance, it actually is Elmer Fudd, but Elmer Fudd's not the major character. It's his dog. Elmer Fudd is sitting and tried to read a Porky Pig Bugs Bunny comic book. And A. Flea is a flea that dresses a hillbilly, which may be why he doesn't appear as much as he could. Again, cultural sensitivity and all of that stuff. And, you know, Appalachia being where we're from, I don't know. Maybe I'm okay with it. But anyway, so basically this flea that's a hillbilly attacks the dog.
You're going, there'll be food around the corner. You right.
No. And there's an entire scene. What I love about the cartoon is he sings that entire song. He sings that entire song, and then he gets on the dog. And does he bite the dog immediately? Oh, no. He pulls out ketchup. He pulls out mustard. He puts mayonnaise on the dog. He then salts, peppers, gets 2 big pieces of bread, which begs the question, if you already had the bread, why was he so hungry? But hey, what are you going to do? And literally puts it, a hunk of the dog's flesh in between it and bites it. And then it cuts, of course, to the dog screaming. And then Elmer goes, "Shut up, I'm trying to read." This character appeared in 2 cartoons. And both of one, he's just trying to find a home. And then, of course, Joe, it gets changed to, "There'll be a home around the corner. Home around the corner." It doesn't matter. I laugh every time. A. Flea is an underused character, but it doesn't matter. It's just a lot of fun.
I got a question for you. before we go to the honorable mention one, how do you feel about that Tiny Toons when they kind of did a variation of it and they basically just turned it into the the American's Tale story? Did you remember this one?
Vaguely. It doesn't matter. Nothing beats food around the corner. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like literally, without going into detail about everything that's been going on with me, the reason I sent to my wife was I'm like, when all this is done, this is going to be me not eating peanut butter and crackers for 6 weeks. And I just sent her the food around the corner skid. And I couldn't even watching it to send it to her. I was like, this is classic.
Honorable mentions?
Yeah, do you have one?
Yes.
Go
Sylvester the Cat Jr. Oh, Father.
How will I ever explain
You
this?
have always disappointed me.
Is that really
Father.
Is that really his name, Sylvester the Cat Jr.?
I had to freaking Google it, Chad, and the only thing, because they never give him a name, he's simply known as Sylvester Jr.
Huh.
That's it.
No,
That's all I can
Father.
find. Or Jr.
Oh,
Sylvester
shame.
Jr. Oh, for shame.
Shame.
Father. How do you not love that?
Again, my father's favorite line is when how I explain this is the boys in Troop 6.
That's so damn random.
Yeah, like like it's a Boy Scout troop reference. I get it, but like it's whatever.
Like, why is his name George? Why will you call him George? I mean, don't get me wrong. When you're sitting there writing and your people's like, well, how much did you write? Well, what's the line, James? I only wrote 6 words, but they were the right words.
Yeah.
Like I came up with 500 names, but George was the right name. Well, how do you know George is the right? Because we're quoting it 60 years later. Oh, Father. I don't know. I just love it. I don't, it's hard for me to pick those. And honestly, I would have taken Marvin, but you already got that. So Sylvester Jr. How do I explain this? The boys in Troop 6.
It's a great laugh.
Oh, the fact that he's just so disappointed in his dad because his dad's a dumbass.
Yeah.
How our children feel. Who's next?
I'll go because again, the nope, don't wanna. Nope, don't wanna. This is also a line that I say over and over again. So he's one of my favorite characters. Why for you bury me in the cold ground?
I actually said that to my kids 2 days ago, and they looked at me like I was crazy.
I'm talking about the Tasmanian devil.
All right, so but that's one of the good lines. I actually think Taz is slightly overused.
Now, then
people have, but that's one of the funnier ones. Or when the Taz's wife shows up.
No, the first 6. So Taz only appeared in 5 episodes, and those 5 episodes are golden.
That's all he ever showed up.
That's all he ever showed up.
So in my head, he's overused. Just like I think the Roadrunner and the Coyote are overused.
Well, so again, this is marketing.
He's a super genius.
But yes, he is overused now because those first 5 original cartoons that Looney Tunes produced
are great.
Golden.
Actually, and you know what? I'm even going to defend the show Tasmania because I just love the fact that he's the only one that's that way. The rest of his family is fully articulate.
Also, his dad's Bing Crosby.
And his dad's Bing Crosby. Now, son.
But
no, here so I can beat you with some sweet Valencia oranges.
I didn't. And when I was gonna, and why I tossed up between him and Marvin. Marvin's superior, bar none. But I didn't realize. And again, I pulled this from Wikipedia because so take it for what it's worth. But the producer Edward Selzer actually shelved the character because he thought it was too violent for children. For Looney Tunes. And the only thing that saved him was actually the head of the studio, Jack Warner, because he noticed that they weren't using him. They're like, wait, where's this Taz guy? I really like that one. And then he got featured in 4 more. But then he kind of gotten forgotten when the studio closed in 1964. And then again, fan nostalgia brought him back. Those first 5 episodes, those 5 seasons, it's kind of like a Firefly thing where fans wanted him more, so they brought him back. And then you saw him appear as a mentor in Tiny Toons to Dizzy Devil, and then eventually in 1991 we got Tasmania. But it's just the sheer insanity of the character. Like that first episode where all the animals are fleeing for their safety.
Yeah.
And here comes Taz.
How'd that go again?
Sorry. And what I liked about it and this is true. No matter what Bugs did to him, he just came back. Like, all the other ones would stumble.
My God, do you realize what we need to do, chat? We need to write the thing. This should be at least a 4-hour epic film Warner Brothers could make, where the Tasmanian Devil gets Anthony Flea on him.
Yeah.
Because there'll be food
around the corner.
Food around the corner. But yeah, I just like
what for you bite Taz on the cold buttocks.
What for you bury me in the cold ground? I just love that line. And also too, I loved it because he was kind of like the Looney Tunes Superman. He was, because whenever Bugs hit him, he didn't flinch. He just was there. He's like, okay, you got me. I'm going to eat you again. And then Bugs would do it, and he would just still appear and not even be phased. I just loved, that's why I loved it. So yeah, go Joe. Seems like you want to say something.
Well, no, James, did we all have an honorable mention?
I've got the honorable mention I want to do is not a minor character. He was in 29, though I always want to say it seems like more.
Because there's one more missing. Somebody should talk about.
He was not created by the normal things. He was actually created by sorry, I lost it. Robert McKimson.
Okay.
Robert McKimson had worked for Disney, and he created this character that was meant to be a blowhard.
Sorry,
I'm
sorry I chuckled. I literally was thinking of Beaky Buzzard eating marshmallows.
You know why, Chad? Because there'll be food around.
No.
McKimson took this idea of, shouldn't there be other characters like rabbits? You got a rabbit, shouldn't there be more farmyard characters?
Good. I was hoping somebody would got him.
He looked at an actual senator. He looked at an actual senator who had a very Southern rhetoric, was known to be an actual blowhard. You can look this guy up. He was actually and it was, I should say, it was on a radio show. There was a senator on a radio show, but it's based on a radio show of Senator Claghorn.
Yeah.
So when he had to name him, he called him Foghorn Leghorn. And I love Foghorn Leghorn because of the little things that are almost whispered. Like that, you get I say, son. And then occasionally little things will come out of his mouth. And again, it just reminds me of.
I thought it's in more than 52.
It's 29 of the original ones.
29. Okay.
Starting in 1946, so he was a late addition to that lexicon of Looney Tunes characters. But I love that character. Excuse me, I love that character because
he's about as sharp as a bowling ball.
Yeah, it's all the little signs he said. Boy means well, but and my dad used to do that stuff to me all the time. He said, "I say, son." And so, yeah, all the lines that he would do.
And that woman's got a mouth like an outboard motor.
Yep.
He's not quoting Foghorn right now.
And he would actually do. He did Camptown races often.
Camptown races.
But yeah, and then he had a rivalry with Barnyard Dog, but he to help the Chicken Hawk, which doesn't make sense because Chicken Hawk, was after him.
I had a.
But yeah, go ahead, Chad.
Yes,
you
Chad.
Look like
Chad,
you're about ready to explode.
Gal reminds me of a highway between Fort Worth and Dallas. No curves.
That's the winter hen.
Who's? Do you know her actual name?
No.
Missy Prissy.
Oh, Missy Prissy. Because I'd prefer winter hen.
I say that dog. I need a man. I say that dog is lower than a snake full of buckshot.
I like the Dallas no curves. Oh my God.
Hold on, James. And then I'll let you go on. That dog's as subtle as a hand grenade in a barrel of oatmeal.
A barrel of what?
Oatmeal.
What? Oatmeal. That's not as classic as George.
Sorry.
Okay. Oh, no. No, his comments when he's talking about the winter hen. Any of this getting through that blue bonnet of yours?
All right, gentlemen. I think we all should get drunk now and watch Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we probably need to wrap it up. We've been a little over an hour.
Smart boy. Got a mind on him like a steel trap full of mice.
If that kid don't quit talking so much, he'll get his tongue sunburned.
I say that's a joke, son. It's a joke.
All right,
there
guys.
might just be a market for bottled duck. It's all the nonsensical stuff, man.
The bottle duck was funny to me.
You gotta love Foghorn Leghorn.
This boy's making more noise than a couple of skeletons throwing a fit on a tin roof.
That boy's more mixed up than a feather in a whirlwind.
It's sure quiet around here. You can hear a caterpillar sneaking across a moss bed in tennis shoes.
That dog's about as subtle as a hand grenade in a barrel of oatmeal.
You
already said that.
I say, yeah. That I say.
I do drugs.
That I say that boy is just like a tattoo. Gets under your skin.
Okay. We probably need to wrap this up. So if we miss
that boy's got more nerve than a bum tooth.
Nice girl, but it's about as sharp as a sack of wet mice.
That's not as good as Fort Worth to
That,
Dallas.
by the way, would be a great job. Can you imagine that job getting to write? It's like writing lines for Mr. Burns.
Mr.
Writing
Burns,
lines
right.
for Foghorn Leghorn.
Tone him, yeah.
Must be a blast.
Must be a blast.
Nice.
All right,
Hold
guys.
on. The last one. Nice boy, but he's got more nerve than a bum tooth.
He already did that. You all aren't listening to one another.
Of course, you know this means war.
Yes.
That's
All
a
right.
classic line from a bunch of characters.
So I'm glad you got that out. Now, if you want us to do more Looney Tunes, let us know really quick. I apologize for a bunch of dings, but I'm going to give a shout out to Scarefest. And Adrian from Scarefest kept messaging me, who hadn't talked to me in months, just to ask me about, she also has COVID for some odd reason, thought that we would have some sort of similar COVID symptoms. So I apologize. It's Adrian Elder from Scarefest. Hold on, go ahead.
I say bear is a cooch dancer's midriff.
A what?
A cooch dancer's midriff.
Yeah,
I'm shutting up.
Okay.
All
right, guys. Yeah. All right. Well, I had it, and then you came back with that. All right. So thank you all so much.
Hey, boy, what's the idea of jacking that?
Boys, one at a time.
I say.
All right, I'm going to stop recording. This has been Bonehead Weekly. We love the Looney Tunes.